Hello and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel in the first place. Today we have a Bakugou X listener and it's a Soulmate AU. I don't have too much to say, so let's go ahead and get into it. Listener stared at the name on their wrist. Why him? We don't even like each other, they thought, slightly pulling their sleeve over the wrist. He was loud, rude, and an all-around pain in the ass. He even thought they were weak compared to Ochako. On top of it all, he had no respect for them whatsoever. Why couldn't I have gotten Midoriya or Ida? Listener thought, rubbing their temples. Happy 17th birthday! Mino and Ochako cheered as they burst into your room. Come on, let's go out, live it up. We have a whole day planned for you, Mina said, jerking them from their writing desk. Yeah, Deku and Ida are coming too. We're gonna have a great time with each other, Ochako said as the pair pushed Listener out of their dorm room and dragged them into town. They did have fun with their friends. Hey, I know this is a pretty personal question, but who's your soulmate, Listener? Izuku asked, as just the pair of them walked around the aisles of the clothing store, before pulling up their sleeve and revealing the words. Kachan, you two hate each other, he exclaimed. Well, yeah, I don't know why it's him. It's kinda ridiculous. I mean, he didn't even thank me after we rescued him. And I got scars from fighting the villains, so he could get an opening to escape. He's not gonna be happy when I tell him. Honestly, I was hoping for you or Ida since we get along so well, but I guess we can't always get what we want. Listener chuckled as they looked at the items in the shelf in front of them. He still has a week before his birthday. Maybe I'm not his soulmate and it could be another person. That would be a relief for me knowing how he'll act if I'm his too. Fate is literally an asshole, Listener thought. Deku, don't tell anyone about this, please, Listener asked. Don't worry, I won't, Izuku said with a smile, patting their shoulder. Don't let it bother you, Izuku chuckled. Yeah, Listener huffed as they walked through the aisles. Listener stared at Bakugou as he made his way into the class. They tugged their sleeve down over their wrist, though they did dab foundation and concealer over it, covering it for the time being. What the fuck are you staring at? Bakugou snapped at them. Your ugly ass mug. It's blocking the front of the room, asshat, Listener snapped back. You little shit. Do you want to die? Bakugou snapped, slamming his hand down onto their desk. Throwing another temper tantrum? Listener said with a smile. Do you always act like an ass? Bakugou asked. Only to you. Please sit down and get the fuck out of my face, Listener replied. I don't think I want to. If you can be a bitch, I can be one right back. Come on, keep being a bitch. I'm begging you. Keep it up. Bakugou snapped at them, leaning closer and clearly invading their personal space. Are you seriously wanting to start this early in the morning? Are you on your period or something? Want some chocolate? Listener teased, leaning against the palm of their hand. They heard Izuku sigh from his seat. His expression practically told them to cut the crap with Bakugou. Sit down, Bakugou. I know you don't want another week of home arrest, Aizawa said as he dragged himself into the classroom, wrapped up in his sleeping bag. Bakugou grumbled before pushing himself off their desk and walking over to sit on his own. I'm gonna have to tell him at some point. Ugh, why him of all people? Listener thought, rolling their eyes and tapping their fingers against the table. Well, he has his moments sometimes, Listener thought, as her mind drifted back to when it was pouring down rain a few weeks ago. Bakugou did call them stupid that day for forgetting their umbrella in the dorms, knowing it was going to storm. There were a few more unkind words before he walked up, pushed his umbrella open, and grabbed their arm, dragging them under it, and power walking back to the dorm building. Though it was a short trip, Bakugou didn't look over at them once to make sure they weren't tripping or something similar to that. He seemed to be hiding his face from them, but Listener never really thought much of that. At least not at the time. Listeners slowly brought themselves out of their daydreaming, only for their eyes to be met with red ones automatically. Bakugou clicked his tongue against the roof with his mouth and turned back to the front of the room. Was he staring at me that whole time? They thought. A week went by. Listener had constantly been hiding the name written in cursive across their skin. They knew what they needed to tell him, and they were going to do it in this moment. It was late at night, so late that everyone in the dorm building had already gone off to bed, and they were probably fast asleep. Listener took a shaky breath as they knocked on his door. To retrieve no answer after standing there for a few moments, he is a deep sleeper. I'll tell him another time, Listener thought as they turned to leave. What the fuck do you want at this hour, brat? Bakugou grumbled, leaning against the doorframe, which seemed to be holding a half-awake body in place. I need to talk with you. It's important, Listener said. At 1 a.m.? What the fuck is the matter with you? I'm going back to bed. Tell me in the morning, he said as he started to close the door, but Listener slammed their hand against it, keeping it from shutting. I'm coming in. It's important, and I didn't want anyone else to know about it, so I waited until Aizawa did the dorm checks, they said, as Bakugou stepped out of the way and let them inside. What the fuck could be so important, dumbass? Bakugou asked, closing the door and flicking the light on. You're my soulmate, Listener said. No, you're not. Let me see your wrist. He practically snapped at them, grabbing their wrist, jerking their sleeve down, twisting their arm at a very uncomfortable angle. This isn't true. You wrote it. Can you stop? You're hurting me, Listener said as Bakugou released. Listener rubbed their wrist lightly. I didn't write it either. I know you don't want to be my soulmate. I really grew to like you, and I started to reflect on the small things that you've done for me, like when you walked me to the dorm building in the rain, and then when you gave me your bento box, when I forgot to fix lunch for myself. I don't know how or why we started off at each other's throats, but let's start over, okay? Listener said with a smile. No. I don't want to hear about how you like me. Stop saying that. We're not starting over, and don't you dare tell anyone, Bakugou threatened. But do you understand? He snapped at them. Yeah, I understand, Listener said, looking away from him and rubbing their arm. Keep my damn name covered too, he said. I fucking will, asshole. Door's right fucking there, Bakugou said as Listener walked out, slamming it shut behind them. When they were all alone in their dorm room, they hugged their knees to their chest, crying into them. I thought he cared. Guess I was wrong. I mean, why would he want me? Listener cried. Bakugou completely ignored them after that day. Listener kept the name on their wrist covered constantly, but it was beginning to hurt her. Listener knocked on Todoroki's dorm door. The pair were close friends, but they knew what they were about to ask was something he'd agree easily to. Hey, what's up, Listener? He asked, opening the door. Can I come in and talk to you about something? They asked, looking at the floor. Oh yeah, sure, Todoroki said, letting them inside his room. What's the favor? Todoroki asked as he noticed tears bubble up in their eyes as they jerked their sleeve up to show it. Todoroki saw the name on their wrist. I want you to burn it, Listener said, no waver in their voice. Do you even understand the words coming out of your mouth? I'm not going to burn you, Listener, Todoroki said, seeing that the name clearly made them upset. Ice burn it then, Listener said, as they held out their arm to him. Todoroki pushed their arm down gently. I'm not comfortable with burning you for any reason. Thanks anyways, Listener said so quietly that Todoroki was barely able to hear it. Hey, Bakugou yelled out to them as they walked down the hallway during the school hours the next day. That shitty half-and-half bastard told me what you asked him yesterday. Bakugou stopped in front of them. So, you don't want me to be your soulmate anyways. Might as well get rid of it, Listener said. No, it's not your fault. I'm sorry I was being an ass when you told me. It's not like you could help it. Are you smiling? Bakugou asked. It's the first time you talked to me and didn't yell. Listener chuckled as Bakugou's face turned slightly pink. I'm just sorry I treated you the way I did. You're my soulmate, and I never should have treated you like that, Bakugou said, kissing their forehead. You missed, dumbass, Listener said, grabbing his collar and jerking him down to their level, placing their lips on his. Bakugou was taken aback for a second before he began to kiss back. Alright, so that's the end of this one. I hope you enjoyed. Don't have too much to say, so music link, fanfic link, Discord link, and thumbnail art link are all in the description. Go check those out. Yeah. I hope you have a great rest of your day, night, whatever, and I hope to see you in the next one. Goodbye!